Hey guys, it's Michael Levine. I got a phone call the other day from one of my stylists, and she was a little bit concerned. She had been having a conversation with one of her clients and had told that client something about another client, and that was a mutual acquaintance of both, and basically inadvertently had found out through that little bit of information that it turned out that those two might have been having an inappropriate relationship since somebody might have been married. And she phoned me and she was kind of freaking out. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Because when this guy comes in, now I have said too much. I didn't know this was happening. I'm going to feel awkward. All of these things. And it got me really, really thinking about the deeper aspect of what we do as hairdressers. And all of us who've been doing hair for a long time, we're all aware of this. And we've all had, the story about the two clients kind of connecting and the possible inappropriate relationships and all that kind of stuff. You've all heard this 10 times, 20 times maybe. If you're a small town, you hear it all the time. I'll tell you, when my wife and I had a 2-chair salon, it was just the two of us. My wife, one of her clients, was having an affair with one of my very best clients' husbands. And it took us a little while to figure out who she was talking about. But anyways, we made this connection and it turned out this was happening. And I couldn't say anything because I wasn't part of the information. My wife, just had to sort of play it cool. And, my wife's not the type to keep her mouth shut if she has an opinion. But at the same time, she's not going to, blast somebody and say, get your shit together. Like, do you honestly think he's being totally honest to you about how bad it is at home? And as an aside, they're still together. And as far as I know, she never found out. But for us as hairdressers, we very often have to just kind of listen to these things and be involved in it and not pass too much judgment, at least not in front of the client. But we all know we judge them massively when we're on a break and gossiping in the staff room, if it's a gossipy kind of thing, if it's a good gossip. Sometimes it's stuff that we would absolutely not want to talk to people about. And sometimes these things are really, really serious. As I said, we've all had these kind of juicy, gossipy kinds of things. But what about the deeper stuff? And what really kind of got me thinking about the deeper stuff, there was a car accident locally a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago. And basically it was a situation where this mother's children went out for a drive with their grandpa. And it was just sort of a day kind of drive around town sort of thing. Anyways, they got T-boned by a drunk driver and all 3 of them were dead. 4 of them, the 3 kids and grandpa. So basically, in the blink of an eye, Mom lost her family. And it's beyond comprehension what that must be like for this person. But for me as a hairdresser, the first thing I'm thinking of is that lady has a hairdresser somewhere. And that hairdresser, in the next, could be in the next 2 weeks, that lady's going to be sitting in that hairdresser's chair. And if she's getting her hair colored or something, she could be in there for upwards of 3 hours of a captive audience with this hairdresser. And what a position that this hairdresser is now in, because that visit is going to be a very, very different visit than this lady's previous visits. And this hairdresser has to be there for this person. And in many ways, we as hairdressers are, some of our relationships with our clients are extremely deep in that, not in that we're super close friends, but in the clients will sometimes tell us things that they'll not tell other people because they know we're safe and we're not necessarily part of their inner circle, so they can say things. And this hairdresser, it's not a situation where the hairdresser can be, oh yeah, well, what else is going on? I mean, this is the topic. I mean, this is what's going on, and this lady's going to be an absolute emotional wreck or something. And you have to be what that person needs you to be as a hairdresser. Now, my wife's clientele, they tended to be really deeply emotional, and my clientele tended to be very aggressive kind of business people, very kind of black and white, no bullshit people. Well, and for me, that's the way I like it. And your clientele is attracted to you because you are kind of like them. So whatever you put out, that's what you're going to get back with your clientele. And so my clientele tended to be a little bit like me. They tended to be successful business people because I'm super successful in business. And my wife's were, a little more emotional because that's her. No matter what your clientele is like, at some point your super together, no bullshit clientele is going to have problems in their lives. There's going to be stuff. They're going to go through divorces. There's going to be a death in their family. There's going to be stuff where they're going to call on you, and you've got to be kind of ready for it and prepared that that's what that visit is going to look like at some point. And for me, it was kind of a hard thing because I don't know what to say. And just as an aside, when these things do come up, sometimes the best thing, if you're a guy like me and you just don't know what to say, just simply, you can say, wow, I'm so sorry, I don't even know what to say, and give the person a hug and just let them take this thing in the direction that they would like to take it, and give you as much information as they're willing to give, and just sort of be what it is they need you to be, just like we always do. I had a client that I'd been doing her hair for about 12 years, every 4 weeks, and she was kind of a cool older lady. My client was in every 4 weeks getting her hair cut and colored, and she was one of my favorite clients. She had pretty cool hair. She's one of these kind of older women who would sort of let me do whatever I wanted with her hair color, and it was, a shorter cut, but fun colors. And we all have a client like this in our clientele. Anyways, she came in and she told me that she had cancer, and this lady was tough, and she was one of the coolest ladies that I've ever met, and her story was amazing, like just an incredible woman. But so she had cancer, and she's like, yeah, it's terminal, there's no cure, but I'm going to fight this thing, and I'm going to be around for a long time. And I think they had given her like 6 months to a year. So I'm with her through the cancer, and it was cool because of how aggressive she was and how positive she was, that it made it much easier for me as her hairdresser to have dialogue. I could actually have conversations about it. One day she stopped coming in. Now, her previous couple of visits, she had definitely sort of taken a decline, but she was tough as nails for like 3 years and had done some traveling and all this stuff. So I had kind of been lulled into a false sort of thinking, wow, she's going to beat this thing or really, really cling. Anyways, it dipped, and we talked about it, and then she stopped coming in. And sure enough, I got a call within the month that she had passed away. Now, I've never been to a client's funeral, but this was a different situation for me. So I talked to my wife about it, and I said, what do you think? Like, should I go? I feel like I want to, but at the same time, I feel really, really awkward. I mean, it's one of these things that I just struggle with, as many of us do. And I ended up going. I went by myself, and I sort of snuck in the back, and I sat in the back row of the chapel or of the funeral home. And through the service, I had quite a few of my clients. I could see the backs of their heads in the room. There was probably maybe four or five people that were either clients or former clients of mine, and it was really, really amazing. In the service, they had mentioned her hair 3 times, and for me, it was like, wow, that was really profound and kind of powerful for me, and it made me feel really, really good. As I was really upset, I'm an emotional guy, and I try to hammer that, stifle it, and beat it down so it doesn't show. But I'm an emotional guy, and it was a really, really powerful thing for me. And the second this thing was over, I booked it out of there because I didn't want to be caught up in conversations where people are like, and this is Michael, this was her hairdresser, all those pictures that they showed in the last 10 minutes of this chronological photo gallery on the screen. So much of this was my haircuts and my colors, and I just didn't want to get into a dialogue of that. But for me, it was as a hairdresser, it was a really, really powerful thing. So, in hairdressing schools, they don't really talk about this kind of stuff, and I think it's a really, really important thing to also prepare that younger generation that it's not all kind of glamorous hair. Well, first of all, it's never glamorous anyways, but what we do runs so much deeper than just doing hair.